Welcome back to another episode of Our Entitled People, where common sense takes a vacation and entitlement runs the show. Sit back, relax, and don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Let's start with the first story. So this actually happened a long time ago, but it still amuses me when I remember it, so I thought you guys might like it too. This takes place in the late 90s, and I'm about 12 years old, living at home with my mom, who's the manager of a department of the local hospital. At the time, it was before email or texting, and caller ID wasn't much of a thing either. My mom gave out her home phone number for staff to call her at home if there was an emergency. Naturally, her definition of an emergency and theirs did not match up. So, one day my older sister and I were home, and the phone rang. My sister was in another room, so I grabbed it, and it was Karen from my mom's team. The following mess of a conversation happened. Karen said, "Can I speak to your mom?" To which I say, "Oh, I'm sorry, she's not home. Can I take a message?" I said that because Mom had practically coached me to say that every time I took a call for her. Karen said, "I wanted to ask her for Saturday off." I respond, "Okay, I'll pass the message on." Karen says to me, "So can I have Saturday off?" I say to her, "I don't know." Karen responds, "Well, can't you check?" I tell her, "No." And she says, "I don't know why it's so hard. Just look at your mom's diary or calendar or whatever and tell me if I can take the day off." I say to her, "I'm sorry, I can't do that. I don't know what I'm looking at." Karen would not let it go. She kept pushing me and saying, "I don't know why you're being so difficult. Just tell me." It's at that point I say, "I'm sorry, you really need to speak to my mom. I'm 12, and I have no idea if you can take the day off." Karen then asked, "Well, when's your mother coming home?" I tell her, "I'm not sure, later tonight," but she didn't say a time. Karen then lets out a huge sigh and says, "Gee, just tell me I can take Saturday off." I try to tell her again that I'm sorry I can't help her, and that's when she yells at me and says, "GH, you are useless. I'll just talk to your mother tomorrow instead since you won't help me." She then hung up, and I thought, what the hell? I was mortified since I thought I effed up. But my mom hit the roof when I told her, and after that, she stopped the entire team from calling the home number. It also turned out that Karen only wanted Saturday off so she and all her friends could go drinking Friday night, and she didn't want to get up for work the next day. Second story, this happened in the summer of 1974, when I was 4 years old. When I was a kid, we had this next-door neighbor who we'll call Karen, and she was a total mega. She was a 40-something woman who liked high heels, big jewelry, lots of makeup, and she wore long, flowy dresses in colors that did not flatter her. She also had a big perm. Remember, it's the 70s, and she was known in the neighborhood for being super entitled. Her favorite thing to do was to go onto neighbors' landings either early in the morning or late at night and steal decorations and potted plants, which she would then bring back to her garden. The woman even once dug up someone else's tree out of their front yard when they were gone on vacation because, according to the neighbor, she felt it would look way better in her garden. Yeah, she's a total dash. For the most part, she left my family alone because my family has a take-no-crap reputation in the neighborhood, and she knew it. She would only glare at me and my siblings when we played outside because she hated kids. Sadly, that did not last. One day, one of my sisters got badly sliced by a long nail when she went to pick flowers off the flower vine on the fence, which is important later. It turns out Karen had hammered dozens of long nails into our fence so she could hang potted plants on her side that she had most likely stolen. The leaves on the vine had hidden them until my sister got sliced by an inch-long nail that was sticking out of our side of the fence. My mom was pissed, so she went out, and she actually spent the rest of the day hammering each and every nail back out through the fence, back into Karen's garden, causing all her potted plants to fall and break. This is probably why she did what she did. About a month later, my mom goes into our kitchen, and she sees a man in our backyard. She goes out and asks, "What are you doing?" The guy tells her that he was a gardener, and he had been hired to get rid of the vine on her fence. My mom asked him who hired him to do this, because we surely didn't. The guy said the owner of the fence and gestured to Karen's house. My mom then told him calmly, since none of this was his fault, that it wasn't Karen's fence and that my mom was the owner of this property. The poor guy was horrified. However, the damage was done. The guy had cut into the roots, and now our vine was dead. After the poor guy left, we later found out that Karen refused any sort of payment to him, and she just ghosted him. Mom went to Karen's house and confronted her. The thing is, Karen didn't even deny it. She just laughed in my mom's face and said, "I did it, so what? It's not like you can do anything about it," and then sauntered back inside her house. At that moment, she had just messed with the wrong family. A few days later, Karen went on a 2-week vacation with her husband to Cabo, and that's when my mom thought it was time to get her back. The day she left, my older siblings, along with a family friend, decided that Karen's back garden needed improvements, so they climbed the fence, went into her garden, dug up all the pretty flowers and small trees, and carted them out, replacing them with high pollen weeds, quick-growing ivy, and lots of poison oak and poison ivy that they had dug up from a nearby forest. My family then excitedly waited. When Karen got back and saw her new and improved garden, she threw the biggest, most epic tantrum and meltdown that we'd ever seen. It was spectacular. A whole class of sugared-up, pissed-off preschoolers could not have thrown a bigger tantrum. From the top of the fence, we all watched as the woman screamed and ranted. She pulled her hair, kicked the weeds, and threw anything she could get her hands on. All the while, she was cussing and screeching like she was getting a chili powder enema. She then spotted all of us watching her, and she yelled and cursed at all of us, coming to the conclusion that we had done this to her precious garden. By this time, all the surrounding neighbors were also watching, but she, of course, zeroed in on us. She storms over to our house and bangs on our door until my mom opens it. Karen then demands that my family not only pull out all those ugly plants but also, of course, pay for new ones, and do it right now. My mom just looks at her, yawns, and tells her that she had zero proof that it was her kids who had done it. My mom then reminded her that she had stolen dozens of plants from the neighbors and had been caught blatantly stealing from their front gardens, yet she was surprised that someone had retaliated. My mom just laughed, told her to F off, and went back inside. She ranted at us through the door for about an hour until her voice gave out, and then stomped back to her house. She avoided us from then on and would only give a death glare to my mom whenever she saw her. My mom would just smile, give her the finger, and go about her business. We donated most of the dug-up plants to the neighbors that she'd stolen from and returned the stolen ornaments and decorations to their rightful owners. Karen never did get rid of all the weeds and didn't realize it was poison oak until she was pulling them barehanded. She and her husband got horrible rashes over a third of their bodies, and I was told in some very unfortunate places. Third story, so I have an elderly neighbor who we'll call Karen. She's always been a bit of a complainer, but whatever, right? You get old, you get set in your ways, and you get crabby. Karen's also not married, and she's got no children. She's pretty independent as a person and pretty strong for her age. Recently, we had a snowstorm. One evening, probably 8 inches of snow fell between 6 p.m. and 11 p.m. I went out to clear the sidewalk, but it was heavy, packed snow, so wet that it was basically slush. I started trying to clear the walk a few inches at a time, but I was mid-pregnancy with a sore back, and I conked out pretty quick. At the time, my husband was doing 18-hour days, sometimes between working full-time, going to school at night, and commuting. He returned home from work/school at midnight, and he was exhausted, but he went out to shovel a path from the house to the car. And that's when I did a very foolish thing. I asked my husband to shovel a path for Karen as well. I felt kinda bad because she was old, and she didn't have help. And what a mistake that was. We went out on my porch in the morning to see Karen, and she was standing there with her arms crossed, scowling at us, and she was angry. She actually said to me, "Why the hell did your husband just shovel a path? Why not the whole damn thing?" I told her because he just finished an 18-hour workday. She then went on and said, "And he didn't put down enough salt. It was our salt, mind you." She then added, "If he's going to do it right or not at all." I then said to her, "Don't worry, he'll never make that mistake again." And my husband hasn't. I refused. The next time we had 6 inches of snowfall, I watched as Karen was outside for hours, shoveling by herself. Now, it may be petty, but her behavior was unbelievably rude. Fourth story, so I was raised in California, and my grandpa lived out of state. He was close with his neighbors, who I'll call Karen and Ken, and this was years ago. So, being that we lived in California, I would sometimes see these people when I'd visit Grandpa, but we didn't know these people well. Not long after he passed, they came to California for the first time. Somehow, they got the impression that I would be their tour guide while they were in town. I recommended that they get a rental car, but they were afraid to drive in the city. They begged me to take them to all the landmarks, the Walk of Fame, the Hollywood sign, and to go see celebrities. I explained that the drive was a pain, and traffic would mean hours on end in the car. I truly did not want to go. I also told them it wasn't like what you saw on TV. The Walk of Fame is not a really fun place to be. It's unclean, riddled with crime, and it smells like pee. At that, they laughed at me like I was making that up. Finally, I relented, and I said we would go if only to prove I wasn't a liar. My only rule was that we had to leave before 10 a.m. and be on our way back by 3 p.m. to avoid serious traffic. They blew me off. They said I was overreacting regarding traffic. When I arrived at the hotel to pick them up, they weren't ready, and they took their time. We didn't get on the freeway until closer to noon, where we promptly sat for hours. Karen was not happy about the traffic. She complained the whole way, asking over and over again how people deal with this on a daily basis. I just ignored her. When we finally arrived, it took us a while to find a parking space, and they grew impatient. They demanded to know why parking was so hard to find, and I'm thinking, I don't know, it's Hollywood. So, as I predicted, the ground was covered in trash, cigarette butts, and grime. They were shocked by all this and totally turned off, and they got mad at me that I would take them to a place like this. We weren't even there 30 minutes before they wanted to leave, disgusted by it all. As we were getting into the car, they asked if they could go to the Hollywood sign. The smog was pretty bad that day. It wasn't easy to see up on the mountain, so I said no and explained it's not something you could just walk up to. They then wanted to go to Beverly Hills. I again said no because it was 3 p.m. on a Friday, and if we didn't leave soon, we were going to be stuck on the freeway for hours. I had plans at 5 p.m., so I couldn't be late. They both called me a party pooper and said that I was ruining their whole trip. They then wanted to meet celebrities, and they asked me to take them to a place where they could. I just laughed, and I asked them where that would be. They didn't know. They assumed that I would know. They went on with their demands, and when they realized that I wasn't going to take them to have lunch with someone famous, they got really mad. I ended up just driving them back to the hotel. It was a waste of a day. When they got out, they told me how disappointed they were and that I was the worst tour guide that they'd ever had. At that, I finally had enough. I reminded them that not only had I taken a day off to drive them around, I had warned them about what we would find, and everything I said had come true. They felt I had wasted a day of their trip by sitting on the freeway only to be in Hollywood for less than an hour before leaving. They wanted me to drive them back. They wanted to see where the famous people lived and interact with them. I just rolled my eyes at the idea and suggested again that they rent a car. I then drove away. I was late for my dinner plans. They never once said thank you for using a vacation day, using my gas, or paying for parking for a total of 35 minutes. The next day, my sister told me that they contacted her asking if she would take them back to LA on the phone, they talked all kinds of crap about me. They went on about how I refused to show them where celebrities hang out, and they were upset that I don't have any celebrity friends. When they were done, she told them that they were ungrateful a-holes for acting the way they had. She told them to rent a car and then hung up. We've never heard from them again, and all I can say is good riddance. Fifth and last story. A couple of nights before Thanksgiving, my sister went to a concert with her husband, and she left the kids with my parents. Well, my parents decided that they wanted to go to a dinner party, so they left in the evening and left the kids there with me. Now, I was not asked to watch the kids. I hate kids. They just told me they were going out and left the kids in the living room. My sister's kids are at this age where they can be loud and hyperactive together. You can't just put a movie on for a time and leave them. I'm in my last year of school, and I actually didn't go hang out with some friends so I could study, so when I noticed this, I just left them alone. I went to my room to study and locked the door. I heard a lot of banging, screaming, and ruckus, and I checked on them to be sure they weren't injuring themselves, but I let them do as they pleased because I wasn't asked to watch them. They ended up causing quite a bit of damage. They broke the TV by throwing stuff at it and got into my mom's oil paints and smeared them everywhere. Oil paint was on the curtains, walls, sofa, rugs, ceiling, everywhere. They also threw dog food everywhere, and water and juice were spilled in the kitchen. It was a wreck. Honestly, I just laughed. However, get this, my mom expects me to pay for damages. My mom said I was in a hole for not just studying downstairs and watching the kids. I told her it was not my responsibility to watch them, and that she should ask my sister for the money because they're her kids. My whole family's been fighting about this for several days. So, am I the a-hole here? That's it for today's episode of Our Entitled People. If you enjoyed the stories, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss out on the next dose of entitlement. Got a wild story of your own? Drop it in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.